We're moving to our final group, and we begin with Dr. Knife, Director of the Center for Entrepreneurship Thinking and Practice at the UWI Mona campus.
Let's start by thanking the organizers for inviting me here today for this presentation. So if you look at the topic, I've already promoting agricultural entrepreneurship amongst youth using an economic inclusive strategy and career pathway. Why? Because we're actually in the middle of this search now for the Ministry of Agriculture as well in terms of how do we design this economic inclusive strategy. And one of the first thing you'll know when you examine the sector is that this sector has one of the most robust, underfunded, under-resourced ecosystem. They have every institution they need in place. They have the people with the right mindset and the right commitment, but it's being broken people. And there's where the problem lies. We can have all the discussions that we want to have. The people who sign checks for budget for these supporting institutions sign a proper check. We want to have a high growth business model, and the budget is for a subsistence business model. And there's a fundamental problematic. The car sector, where you can turn around in 3 to 6 months, most of the things that we consume in Jamaica, and some of the things that we shouldn't even consume in Jamaica, takes less than 6 weeks to grow. Less than 6 weeks. I will do it. But let me move on. Now, who are we targeting? You're targeting a set of people who are young people who are from generations, and we see what their characters are like. There's a generation that has been born at the time you have access to full information, and information generation. The challenge that young people have in Jamaica is lack of information. They don't know. So of all these plans, here we have in front of us this logistics plan that is being implemented, consistently being implemented, but nobody knows about it. If you say to a young man, why are we fixing the roads going to St. Thomas? We don't know. Why are we fixing the Goodyear Oval? We don't know. What's the relation of Kobe to the harbor right here? We do not know. Why are we building a third city in central Jamaica? We do not know. Why are we expanding and retrofitting Burnham Field to be a trade airport? They don't know. Why are we redeveloping downtown Kingston and Mobile? None of these youths who are born in information age, who know a lot of things, do not know. How is that people who do not know can plan for a future? In a realm of unknown, things that you do not know, that impact the situation that you're living in. Ignorance is the biggest challenge that we face today. So we look at the characteristics of Generation Z. Well, I think I've gone, but let me see if I can go back to it, just for persons to see. Generation Z. Social, global, visual, and technological. If you have a targeted consumer, your value proposition must match the consumer preferences. If you're going to market agriculture to a digitized population, you can't have an analog formula. And it goes straight across everything, including education. We have analog brain planning for people with digitized brain, so we are really out of sync and out of step. And some of us don't have the interest to change. These persons are seen as being entrepreneurial in their mindset, naturally innovative and creative. So you have to encourage them to want to have their own enterprises or to adapt the innovations. And for many persons who operate in universities, you'll know that when you look at the business plan being written by business students, but by students in sci-tech, computer science and technology, by students in arts, by students in law, you see that a lot of them writing business plans for their family farms in the rural communities. They know that the only man who would have to negotiate with the government for a wage increase is a farmer. He don't have an industrial dispute either. What he need is land, water, input, and support. That's all they need. Note, the sector itself links back into everything with the SDGs. Look at the first 6. No poverty, zero hunger, good health and well-being, quality education, gender equality, clean water and sanitation. All of those link back into agriculture. Those are the preconditions for getting all the other 17 goals, the other 11 goals of SDGs manifested. And there's a nice publication from the Ministry of Finance in terms of the budget this year of $912 billion. And when I look at what was being allocated for some of the sectors, agriculture is not even on the list. Not even on the list. We have health, we have education, we have all of those things are important, but hungry people can't serve healthy people. Hungry people can't learn in schools either. At least we will know that what COVID has shown and what the war is showing, that the most essential sector on the globe is agriculture. Then that's something we need to have a debate about. How is it that our budget don't reflect that? And the reality is, if the Minister of Finance who signed the check was here, he would be eating not money but food. Something seems not to be right. Remember that absence of brain though, you know. When I start brain in Jamaica. We have so many. This thing is not a bit of a challenge with the changing from there. All right, what do you think in my head? There are so many plans out there. Really good plans. No problem. The draft strategic business plans for 2021. We have just the economic inclusive strategy. If you look at Vision 2030, if you look at the sector plan for agriculture, Vision 2030, you can see all of these things are there. We have a national youth policy for 2017 that mentions so many things, including how we are going to get involved in enterprise development. One gap in that plan is that they leave out the whole thing about housing for youths. Apparently, they forgot that youths is between 18 and 35. For youth want to own a house. You don't have to wait until you're after 25 to own a house. But nonetheless, the plan is there. Yes? We have other plans as well. An extremely good MSME policy on few policies that have been mainstream to include all imperatives: gender, youth, PWDs, climate change. And note that these policies show there are significant allocations of resources that should be accessible by youth, but them don't know. I'm going to show you more plans they don't know about. Look at the other plan. This 2021 plan says that 30% of participants in all agriculture programs should be youth, women, and micro-enterprises owned by a person in those categories. All resources, 30% of all resources should be accessible to youth, women, and PWDs. Note, these aren't keeping a lot of policies to sign, including the Disabilities Act, whether it be 2014 or 2022, whether it be the Gender Act of 2011. But we have signed all of these things. And we have the programs, we have the policies, we do have the funding. If you look at the major project, Essex Valley project, over $1.5 billion with all the ideas, the infrastructure that is needed, the technology that is needed, all those things are there. And in those plans, they argue that again, at least 25% should be female, 30% should be youth, and 5% PWDs. PWDs you don't know. It was the question I was asked this morning in the first presentation by the minister about whether they could remove taxes off a number of inputs. And the person don't realize that there's a program that already has removed those things. All you need to do is apply it to the ASU. But nobody from the Agricultural Services Unit is here in our ASE conference, which speaks about attracting investors. And one of the first things investors want to know is how can we get incentives, access incentives. So again, in the abundance of water, the fool is thirsty. So in the age of information, where people do not know anything, and we wonder why the sector will not grow. So in the document that we have developed, this is what we suggested. Minimum standard. Looking at all the programs that are out there, 30% of our resources should be allocated to vulnerable youth, vulnerable groups, including youth, women, and PWDs. The mainstream at the macro level to ensure that all boards, all projects reflect the mainstream principles. Yes? And in the targets for programs, again, 30% male, 25% female, and at least 5% PWDs. We also argue that if you really want to support persons who are involved in agriculture, you need to support them along this call, the entrepreneurship process and the business cycle. And they're matched. The process moves from the ideation stage, identify what's the idea, is there an opportunity, what is the concept you're developing, that's the ideation stage. Identify the resources, access the resources, implement and manage. That's the implementation stage. It mirrors the business cycle in your startup phase, in the development phase, your high growth phase. So that have institutions right there that supports organization along those processes. But again, what is the common factor? These institutions are under-resourced. Maybe rather who have 100 extension officers to serve 250,000 farmers, which doesn't make any sense, because it means that that officer will take at least 3 years to see each of the person that is assigned to. JBDC, and it's super organization who do have enough business service providers to support the people who are part of the sector. SDC, over 180 communities, no meaningful budget. No meaningful budget. So we have the institutions. We have the plans. Because you would speak this, they have plans, but they don't have the funding to carry out those plans. So the reality is we are in the position we're in because of our own activities. Agriculture is one of the most beautiful sectors. Guess why? Especially the Rastafari person. You know why? It is the least discriminatory sector in Jamaica. Least discriminatory sector. You don't ask where you're born, if it's uptown or downtown. You don't ask if you have a criminal record, you don't have no criminal record. All it wants is somebody who wants to plant and follow good practices. Only sector. If we are thinking about crime fighting, I mean, I have the chance of serving some people in GP, teaching entrepreneurship. And when they leave, them call you. You know what they want to do? They want to farm. You know what they want to farm? Now, if I want to go in the mountain, I want to go farm because I want nobody disturb me. I have nobody trouble me. Them find peace in self, in farming. One thing you learn at prison is the value of time, and how to commit to doing something by yourself as well. We don't see these things as a bigger part of the overall development strategy. You know what happens? We still treat agriculture programs as poverty reduction programs. I don't live in illusion. Somebody who wants to reduce poverty doesn't mean they want to eliminate poverty. Bear in mind, poverty reduction doesn't necessarily mean say your quality of life is good. It just means the poverty is reduced. So why we don't create wealth creation strategies? You think people start a poverty reduction program for a big company? Which person enter into big agriculture is talking about poverty reduction? So even the way we think about it, DBJ, over the DBJ persons here, $3 billion we have to support the MSME sector program, which is a good program, 5%. But do you know that the farmers don't think they're part of the MSME sector? And yes, if you talk to Ms. V, JBDC, we'll know that more than 60% of all MSMEs are agriculture related. And farmers don't recognize that that $3 billion DBJ is something that they should try to access. But they don't see themselves as a part of the sector. Are we making them aware that without agriculture, there's no value chain? is that? There's no value chain without a farmer. You can produce, well, I was going to say you can't produce from the air, but you can. But the reality is, if that farmer doesn't plant the food, you can't have no value added. You can't manufacture, you can't distribute, you can't export. And I'm certain that when we're building a house, we build the foundation first. So agriculture is the only house that don't have no foundation. I expect to sustain the operations. We do not invest in the foundation of agriculture. We expect, and what is shameful is that we argue that with about $4 billion, we can turn around a sector. And we, with all the brain that we have in Jamaica, there's no shortage of brain, couldn't find $4 billion in a $912 billion budget to support agriculture, which is important to support everything else that you want. Whatever you say, a hungry man is a hungry man. So you think that the one who committing crime, them belly full. You don't think they're also hungry and also angry? And then some are going to eat a food and no matter who food they're going to eat. We learn these things about metaphors in high school with literature, man. Listen to what the youths are saying. So we have no real problem. And look at the career pathway. In agriculture, they start formally or informally. There's a program in place to get you to the highest level of education or training you want in agriculture. No matter which area you want to start in. So let me move because of the time. Those things were there to show what career pathways are like when they use a formal or informal setting. The 4-H Club, and it's major organization. Remember what is called a career, we have a roadmap for agriculture for youth, where the 4-H Club is responsible for implementing. They have so much scholarships. They have so much training program. And again, so much persons don't know. Let me say this before the time ends. When a young person enters into an agriculture institution, trained and educated, there's a 1 year, a 2 year, a 3 year program. When that youth is graduating from the program, while it is important to give that young person the academic certificate, it is probably even more important to give him land certificate. You understand what I say? If I plant my degree, it can't grow in a tree. I'm going to plant in the dirt. So if you're going to give me an academic certification, you have all these programs that minister say this morning about 20%. You need to update that. It's supposed to be 30%, not 20%. 30% of all lands must be allocated to youth in Jamaica. Are you saying to me that a youth in a 3-year program, we cannot identify land in 3 years? So at the end of this program, we can access that land? 3 years? That takes us 3 years to find land? I don't think we take 3 years to find it, because of land we give to the Chinese government. I would take 10 years to find land to give the Jamaican people, Jamaican birth certificate. We treat foreigners better than we treat one people. It's the same thing with the export strategy. We want to export banana to feed 1 billion Chinese people. Encourage them to eat a green banana. When we cannot feed 3 million Jamaicans outside of Jamaica a green banana, you don't have to encourage them to eat it. You don't have to convince the 25 million diaspora people to eat Jamaican and Caribbean food. And we would spend money to go to China to convince a Chinaman to eat a banana. And about opportunity cost is very important. Finally, recommendations. When you have good programs, implement them properly. We have an agro-park program, we know there might be gaps, but it's a good program. Implement it properly. The next value program is also a very good program. When a charter program. Ensure that your project cycle incorporates these things of youth and gender and periods, but we're talking about youth in particular. It is dear diamond, man. Remember that it's young people broke record, of right people who write down the history. Young people make history and old people write it down. You know what I said a while ago? How much records we break? No old people breaking records. It's young people. If you want to break a record, to show people how you can make a sector grow rapidly, give youth a chance in agriculture and see what will happen. Don't go around telling people that young people are not interested in agriculture. They're not interested in agriculture. Will learn at high school, which resembles slavery. I'm interested in a different form of agriculture, where them use them brain and the technology to generate the output, but young people lack social capital and they also lack economic capital, which is part of the challenge. I made a recommendation for what is called an agro-housing loan through NHT, where when they get the NHT mortgage, build a house, they give them a loan as well as part of the mortgage to engage agriculture. If it's $5 million, it is very good. Why is it very good? Chance to have a post harvesting facility. A reefer container don't cost more than 1.5 million Jamaican dollar. A part of the reefer container is a coast rate facility, 1.5 million. If you're going to use irrigation, say a 5-acre plot, Dr. Paul, in the AIC, 1.5 to 1.6 million to put in the drip irrigation system, that is just $3 million. If they want, the agro part, they don't need a lot of things to keep in terms of water. But if you want to give somebody water harvesting system for like a 20,000 gallon, it is less than $1 million. With less than $4 million, you can give a young person a mortgage for over 30 years with an agriculture business of 5 acres. But that mortgage is not to cost, we are going to cost $120,000 a month, you know. And I'm certain that with 5 acres of land, you go to AIC, so Selvin there, she can help with the business plan. Let me tell you what 5 acres of land is that drip irrigation with proper water and post harvesting can do in terms of money to generate. That person no problems with a mortgage. You see, we're not thinking about these things in a way we can think about it. I'm in a shorter brain, we're just distracted. For some reason, we are distracted. I don't know what's the distraction, but because I get paid for things, I need my mountain, I can sit and think about all of these things. But I'm not seeing, I'm struggling to understand what are the real problems that we have. And the only thing I can think about then is what we prioritize. Finally, establish direct link in funding programs. KSF was giving out over $25 million as a grant to community-based organizations and a Ready-to program to support agro-tourism. Ensure that farmers recognize that they are a central part of the MSME sector and see themselves as business people and be treated as business people. Yes? The money that we give to these banks to offering to MSMEs. While there's nothing wrong with that. But the PC banks and those banks, we can help those banks to get into a system where they can actually access some of these funding and offering to farmers as well. We cannot build the capacity of financial institutions in Jamaica with about 5 different universities in the island. We cannot do that. With a big bankers association in Jamaica, when we think about banking, we cannot build the capacity of those organizations to be vehicles to support the sector. Ensure that the people who offer extension services, whether it's police, a business development officer, or agriculture extension officer, give the people the resources that they need. How do you expect persons to go out and assist when they can't even go out to assist? And we complain every day. What is RADA doing? What is AIC doing? What is JAS doing? Is that we're telling our parents that I'm going to run into a lot of parenting program. At the end of the parenting program, she's still a block parent. What will she be able to do? I have all the training, but no financing to actualize the training. What will we do? Members, persons who are in this kind of room, sit at of these boards, by myself. Just remember that no youth out there make a decision that affects his life in any serious way. Head of the street, whatever decisions we make filters into society and reflect. But one thing you must know, I'm certain that the youth who are engaged in crime in Jamaica will not have a budget of $90 billion. And we have a budget to the national security of $90 billion. You know what that tells you? Because if we need to put aside $90 billion to try to fight crime against a set of youth who are not educated according to us and who have no money, it means those are some very serious brain. Because with all the brain we have and all the money we have, we still cannot figure it out. And they are very successful at what they do. Is it possible? Because research showing that the entrepreneurial mind and the criminal mind are one and the same, have the same characteristics. Is it plausible to transform those youths from gangs into business partners in agriculture? Because they already have an inclination towards making money, which you can make a lot of money in agriculture, and then find peace of mind in doing it. We just need to shift our thinking and ensuring that rural communities access critical information, I think, is probably the most important thing, you know? And so we go on Rastafari best and we leave it like this. That it's not beyond Jamaica, man. Whereas people can always make things work. Where there is good things and bad things. And Jamaica is the best in good things, but also the best in bad things as well, you know. But what it says to you, though, is that if we want, we can all do the best, whatever we do. Give thanks.
Thank you so much, Dr. Knife. Let us move to our next presenter, Charmaine Blair Stewart, investor and farmer, PJR Agro Park. PGR rather, PGR.
Good afternoon. Good afternoon, everyone here. And yes, hello. So good afternoon again to everyone here and online. It's indeed a pleasure to follow after you. And I am so thankful that you are able to pave the way for me and putting out what we really speak on and cry for every day. Having said that, I am Charmaine Blair Stewart. I'm a farmer on the PGR Agro Park. Nothing. Right, I'm writing. Oh, sorry. Still nothing. So I was challenged. However, I am, as I say, farmer on the Peter Agro Park. Farming is a business ought not to be stigmatized. As such, I am quite elated to make a difference thanks to AIC and the Ministry of Agriculture providing lands for sustainable development. AIC provided a gateway for D&G Foundation and the project to grow. I am now recognized and appreciated, sought after for queries and know-how in regards to why this diverse industry, how to get on board, as well as sharing my know-how, various crops. My favorite is empowering women and youths or inspiring others. I stand here euphoric with this opportunity to share my journey. And had the slide allowed me, I'd have shown my harvesting of cassava, um, my cassava, and it has been a truly tremendous journey for me, having had a lot of issues throughout my journey. The Plant and Garden River is a government initiative. Yes, I'm sorry. It's a government initiative which I have been a part of, a member since its inception in 2013, planting my signature crop, which is cassava, onion, pumpkin, Irish potato, hot pepper, to name a few. Unfortunately, 2013 of that year, tragedy struck. I lost my husband 2 months and 8 days after being married. Naturally, I was devastated. My life fell into the abyss. Diagnosed with post-traumatic stress disorder and not struggle, battle with chronic depression, I plunged myself into my farming, making it my therapeutic mechanism, changing my life, enhancing my livelihood, my core reason for living. The Agro-Invest Corporation, throughout my difficult period, supported me, stood by me, grieved with me, has been there for me throughout the entire time to date. Throughout my grief, knowing my full potential, persistence and determination, my appreciation is propagated through my continued success. Why farming? Why not farming? So, DNG and Project Grow introduced cassava to small farmers, and on my agri as a sustainable crop agro-investment corporation welcomed the concept, supported the initiative. I was the first to plant, and of course, I was ridiculed. Many others have since planted. I have, throughout my period, I've cleared cassava, the new sugarcane. So, yes, so persons took on to the idea, having seen my produce, and to date, I've had the highest yield at the DNG Foundation and the Project Grow. They provided a wide variety of services, skilled sessions on field, retreats, forums, inputs, secured market, extension officer, on-site plot visit, planting to harvesting, the transportation of end product. Now, one of the things that came about as well with that first part of the NG contract was the inputs. I was able to get credit from Person and Isratech for my irrigation and my fertilizer. I want that this would continue because we definitely need the help in that capacity. My experience as a female farmer. Being a female already has its stipulations. More so, a female farmer with grooming etiquette school, despite the easy on the appearance, easy on the eyes appearance, when a plethora of discrimination, dishonesty, sexual harassment, on gender sabotage, night, and the inability to aspire due to favoritism, stigmatism, and being faithful to a dead husband. Farming is hard work, a risky job. It takes courage, thus being resilient, persistent, and determined in a male-dominated sector illustrates my ability for farming. Had the slide allowed me, and I've still showed my harvesting of my cassava plantation, the trucks and all that, and also me in my farm, working in my farm, which is, as I say, it helps with my therapy. Farming has opened up many avenues. I was a panelist hosted by the Bureau of Gender Affairs to empower other females, motivating and promulgating a possible way of livelihood. I was acknowledged as Female Farmer of the Year in St. Thomas by RADA, and in 2018, I was a nominee in the BSJ National Awards program. Now, being introduced to all this because of farming and the fact that the NQA program allows small farmers to be a part of it, nonetheless, small farmers don't benefit because they don't win. They are recognized, but they do not win. We small farmers are not acknowledged really with a medal to say yes, you won. The top industries and the big names are the ones who get prizes, not us down here. Before Project Grow and farming, persons negated and not acknowledging my full potential. No, I've been a recluse all my life, a sheltered wife, a sheltered child, and I've never socialized much. I'm very antisocial, and I like to be in the corner. But nonetheless, I use the farming to learn more. Farming for me, it's more than therapy. I get bored easily, and I've not yet I've gotten the ability to to overcome or to get the know-how of farming. Farming right now is a challenge for me, which I am yet to hurdle over and be victor of it. But yet I am still working on that because I have to stop farming to move on to something else. The NG Foundation and Project Grow, in collaboration with AIC, open up as a window or a door, but a whole house of opportunities, earning me the title of a model mogul. And had the thing allowed me, I would still Is it here now? Yes, it's here. Oh, that's my farm, my plantation and all that. My harvesting. So that's basically a forum I've had, and that's our good agricultural practices that we practice on the farm, and in order to enhance our farming and changing lives. One of the things that we should consider really is site location, soil types, land preparation, proper drainage, planting dimensions, as well treat crop as high priority, whether it's cassava or onion. Onion is the most expensive crop, and cassava is low maintenance. My cassava was rain fed, and I was still able to have the highest yield. Scouting is a very important part of our daily routine and should be observed. So we have particular ways in which yeah, in which we do our scouting. So we were taught the ZRN to do our pest management and all that. So night pests are the most dangerous ones. We move on to cassava cultivation. Fertilizer application should be done at a specific time. It is required. Record keeping is very much essential because of traceability of the chemicals and expenses should be duly noted. The importance of the chemicals and the record keeping, very, very important to note. For farmers or person who want to start now, farmers who, young persons want to go into farming, youth and women, young women going into it, it's traceability. Record keeping is a must, is a must, is a must. And it can never be enhanced as how important record keeping is. Right, Mr. Scarlett? All right. So the recommendations that I came up with is an integrated agricultural strategy plan that should be imminent. Land acquisition from the government made easier for small farmers, working capital, training, farmer field school, and youth outreach program is also important. This is, can I go back? No, I am trying to go back. I just want to post off some of my crops that I planted. Yeah, the Irish potato, I've got good yield, the Irish potato. And I would love to show what the agro park. Oh, sad. Can I get some help? No, no help. Okay. Oh, let me of me doing the thing. I'm not the first same way. So that's the cassava plant. I want to wrap up quickly. One thing I heard Mr. Scarlett, my director, said, and I'd like to talk a little bit quickly on it, is about the climate change. Now, one of the things that we would really like to have is currently I'm in the process of putting up a small greenhouse because of the rains, constant rains and all that we have in St. Thomas. So that will also help our capacity building and keep us working. Just the other day we had Tuesday we had flooding out there in St. Thomas. And that's a setback for us as well. So one of the things that we look at, I don't know who can help us with our greenhouses, probably a quarter acre of a greenhouse so we can do our farming, because farming is not only as a business for us, it also enhance our lives and, and, and it changes, enhance farming and change lives. So thank you.
Thank you so much, Mrs. Blair Stewart. She says she plants sweet cassava. I wonder what type. Is it sweet or bitter or both?
That's my dad.
And she is so absolutely proud of her produce. And she's absolutely right. When you grow something, anything at all that grows, it helps with your mentality. It reduces stress. It helps you to get out of depressive moods. And it also helps to feed your family. Let's move on quickly to our next presentation. And Mr. Codrick Farquharson investor and farmer of Amity Hall Agro Park.
Honorable Franklin Witter, Minister of State in Ministry of Agriculture, Dr. Al Powell, CEO, AIC, Mr. Ian Murray, Chairman, AIC, other distinguished ladies and gentlemen. It is indeed a pleasure and an honor for me to be invited to AIC First Investment Forum. I must say thanks to Dr. Al Powell and his team for allowing me to speak on this very important topic, agriculture as a retirement option. I promise I will honor the three B's of public speaking: be brief, be brilliant, and be seated. I will not give my senior manager, say, Dr. Al Powell, the extra work to turn off the microphone. So I plan to stay within my allotted time. I will use a few points to address the main topic. To be precise, 4. The first point is make a decision. I retired from Grace Kennedy in 2009 after 28 years of employment. And the branch of Grace Kennedy was Agro Grace, no Hardware Lumber, no H&L Agro. Getting out of the corporate world and realizing that I was not financially sustainable for my retirement years, I needed to make a decision. It was easy for me to choose farming because not only was it my passion, but I had knowledge and experience in the area of agricultural sciences. I obtained a 5-acre plot at the Amity Hall Agro Park. At the time, I was just trying a thing because I didn't have the idea of how successful agriculture could be. However, I can tell you with confidence and without fear of being contradicted that farming can provide a suitable retirement livelihood equal to or better than any other investment in this country. Since 2009, my living standard has not declined. Bear in mind that the living standard of a farmer is based on the premise of a simple livelihood, simple lifestyle. The second point, do your feasibility study. What type of crop are you interested in, long-term or short-term? Are you interested in local or export market? Evaluate whether or not your crop will be successful. How much land will you need? As I explained before, my experience, I found that short-term crops can be very challenging, but it also gives the greatest return on your investment. I specialize in Scotch bonnet pepper, sweet potatoes, and pumpkin. And I have get substantial return from those crops. The third point to consider is considerable cost. I will hasten to caution prospective farmers that to be successful in agriculture, there's a long list of factors which can impact the farmer's effort negatively. Some are intrinsic, others are external factors. The intrinsic factors are factors which have to do with your behavior pattern. Do you have a passion for farming? Are you committed? You must be dedicated, resilient, positive work attitude, a willingness to do it right the first time, all the time. The external factors or external challenges are things like drainage, irrigation, road condition, financial assistance, marketing, sales, loss, and you know them all. But if you are able to counteract those and mitigate these challenges, the outcome will be awesome. The fourth and final point is you will need help and support. In Jamaica, there are several government agencies and other private organizations which can provide help and support. Register with RADA. They will provide technical support. Contact Bodle's Research Station. They will analyze your sample, diagnose pest and disease conditions, and give valuable information how to solve these problems. Join your farmers association and cooperatives. You don't have to invent the wheel. Share with other farmers. United we stand, divided we fall. Consult with your commercial agricultural input suppliers. Check with AgroGrace. Check with HNL Agro. I give them the plug because they are here. They are part of this function. Negotiate with these input suppliers through your cooperatives and organization to get competitive price, a reduction in price. And I say the most important government agencies for the laws, NIC, National Irrigation Commission, and AIC, Agro-Investment Commission. They are the biggest help in agriculture. They are the two most important agencies you can check with. And if Minister Charles was here, I don't know if he's taking recommendation at this time, but I humbly recommend that available lands currently under the control by the Sugar Industry Holding should be transferred to AIC. AIC is the agricultural investment arm of the government, and they have a staff with the capability to develop these lands and lease them to qualified investors. In closing, I like to refer to an article that was published in the Cable, which is a branch of FAO, a magazine put out. United Nations said that. The article said that United Nations warned that world's ability to feed itself is in jeopardy. Because of a growing global population, experts estimated the world will have 10 billion more to feed in 2050 versus 7.3 billion today. Our cultural output will need to increase by 50%. This information helps to solidify that our culture will be one of the best retirement and investment options despite the challenges. Ladies and gentlemen, thanks for your time.
Mr. Farquharson, thank you so much. And we have one final presenter this afternoon. She's not here. Ms. Pottinger is not here. Okay. Since she won't be here, can we do some questions? All right. So we have a question for Dr. Knight. He said there are a lot of opportunities for farmers, but we just don't know. What suggestions You have to keep us in the know when the information is so scattered.
Well, it's a good time to ask a question. Why? Because the Ministry of Agriculture itself is now trying to develop a marketing strategy for the program that they actually have out there. But again, remember the generation you're speaking to is an ICT generation. Most of these organizations have sites, but you have a link into the sites. And that's where the challenges are. The chains are strong as the weakest link. It means they'll create a platform where we disseminate information across all those sites automatically. There's no reason why I should not go onto the veterinary services site and see something that is being done or linked to plant quarantine as well. Yes? But also the farmers groups. These farmers groups that are out there need to be strengthened and become a basis for information dissemination. Because there are a lot of farmers groups. Again, they don't have that kind of connectivity. So it's really about connecting the dots. It's not about creating any new structure. About doing those kind of simple kind of things, creating a platform where any system, any institution that links into agriculture, you can get them through the Ministry of Agriculture. If you go to the ministry as well, they have a site which is AIMID, which gives you everything about the prices. Current prices in coronation market. You can get those prices just in time. If you're able to do that in terms of gathering information, I'm not seeing why we cannot have a platform where even still information can be posted so people can access it. That's about doing the things that we're supposed to do.
Thank you so much, Dr. Knife. Access to information. I'm going to pose a question to Mrs. Stewart. And one of our participants asked, will you provide assistance to other females, especially in the area of record keeping?
Oh, yes, definitely. I certainly will be able to do so as long as they reach out to members of AIC, can get to me, and I'll be able to do that.
And question for you, Mr. Farquharson. You said you started out with 5 acres. Where are you now in terms of acreage, now that you have realized farming is a business? And do you mentor young farmers?
Thank you very much for that question. I started out with 5. I am now at 30 acres. I must say that it is part of AIC mandate to give extra land or additional lands to farmers who are committed and are doing very well.
Thank you so much. Thank you to our presenters. Thank you all so much. And that is it for this round of our question and answers.